First of all, how about a distracted driving? I don't think there's anything worse on the road, more dangerous right now. So with us is Karen Russell of the Mountain Valley Regional Rehab Hospital in Prescott Valley. Oh,
nice
great place. So, distracted driving, what does that look like?
Well, distracted driving is anything that occupies or distracts your vision, occupies your hands other than the safety of maintaining the vehicle, control of the vehicle, and cognition. So any of those three things that impair those is considered a distracted driving task.
Yeah, so even if you're driving along and you're looking around and everything, but you're talking to somebody even hands-free, that's your cognition.
Your cognition,
going to be a little. And texting and driving, must I ask, why is that so dangerous?
Well, I mean, for many reasons, but texting and driving then impairs all three of those. So where you have other tasks where you're adjusting the radio or your GPS or you're talking to someone, it's maybe one of those tasks, but texting and driving takes away your vision. It involves cognition, and then also you have something in your hand, so you don't have complete control of the vehicle.
I mean, I just can't imagine people texting, driving. I just can't. So when you're doing that, what happens when you take your eyes off the road, Karen?
Well, when you take your eyes off the road, it's the equivalent, if you're driving 55 miles an hour, that's the equivalent of driving the length of a football field blindfolded. So if you went up to someone and said, hey, would you drive blindfolded? They'd probably look at you like you're crazy. But that's really what texting and driving is doing, because you are completely taking your eyes off the road, and it is really the equivalent of driving, blindfolded.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
And I mean, I had a friend who literally, this is before the texting and stuff came along anyway, but she looked down to adjust the radio literally for a second or two and looked back up, and she ran into a parked car.
Yeah, it doesn't take long.
No, it's seconds.
Yeah.
Really.
The statistics are just, I was amazed at some of the things that are out there. 11 teens die every day. Every day from texting and driving. You are 6 times more likely to get in an accident texting and driving versus drunk driving.
Oh my goodness,
Yeah.
that's amazing. Well, and not to even mention the other people that are killed by people who are driving, distracting, texting, calling, eating, whatever.
Yeah, there's 3,500 deaths a year from just distracted driving.
Oh my
and that's
gosh.
not counting all the injuries that are life-altering. So,
And that happens a lot. So whether you're being the distracting person, causing the accident, or in the accident, what kinds of injuries do you see at the rehab hospital?
Yeah, and it seems like the motor vehicle accidents that we are seeing, those patients, it seems to be alarmingly increasing. So we see anything from traumatic head injuries to spinal cord injuries to multiple fractures. Recently, the worst thing is we are seeing more that have all three. So if you have a head injury and you have a spinal cord injury and you have multiple fractures, fractures can actually be as difficult to rehab from, especially if you get multiple limbs and you end up being in a non-weight bearing situation. So if you have 3 out of your 4 limbs that you're not allowed to stand on, push from, or use, and you're trying
helpless.
you're going to be dependent for all care, all mobility, all self-care, grooming, bathing, everything until those fractures heal, which could be 6 to 12 weeks.
Whoa, so what do people go through when they do rehab then from these car accidents? I mean, you're in a speeding bullet and you just got smashed up.
Yeah, once they're medically stable and they are ready to come for acute rehab, that's what's really important, is getting involved in the rehab process. If you're a brain injury, you really want to get all 3 disciplines: occupational, speech therapy, physical therapy. Speech therapy can be really important because people with brain injuries tend to have a lot of cognitive issues, so they really need that speech therapist. They deal more than with swallowing and speech. They deal a lot with cognition. So
to make your brain talk, talk to your vocal cord
and
things.
And the head injury will alter how people think. It can affect logic. It can affect executive higher level functions, like how you would do math. Just all of those daily activities that we take for granted. Someone with a brain injury can't process and think through, how do I balance my checkbook? How do I write out a check?
The simplest things
The
you kind of
simplest
have to
things.
relearn.
You have
how-
to relearn, yes.
Now you can relearn with the debilitation that you have, but does the brain regenerate? Does it get better through therapy and stuff?
It depends on the extent of the injury. What you're looking at is retraining other parts of the brain generally that have not been injured. So you're trying to get those,
see.
those healthy parts of the brain
To take
learn
over.
to take over and do those
In
particular
case
tasks.
the other part of the
Yes.
brain does not.
Right.
So how do older adults on the road, how do they stay safe?
Yeah, it's hard. You really want to drive, obviously, defensively. You want to really keep your eye out for everything on the road. Older adults, I really stress, and they don't really think about the importance of strength and flexibility, especially in your ankle muscles. When you look at the strength and flexibility it takes to move your foot from the gas pedal to the brake, the motion in your ankle, and the ankle muscles generally when I'm out in the community are the muscles that I see that tend to get weaker in older adults. Get regular eye checkups because eye degeneration happens slowly as we age, and I don't think it's not as apparent, so we don't realize the decline in our eyes.
I think that's true with hearing and everything too.
Yeah.
Well, and driving the slow lane, because older people go slower. They're like, and in the fast lane, and people are like, I gotta run over you. Anyway,
it
stay
is
safe
important
out there.
to kind of get over to the other side of the road.
other side where you can go slower and not be pressured. But anyway,
Exactly.
Karen Russell, thank you so much from Mountain Valley Regional Rehabilitation Hospital in Prescott Valley. Great organization, helps out a lot if something bad happens to you.
Yes, we don't want it to, but we're
No,
there if you need it.
you'll fix it. Thank you, Karen.